Nestled high in the pristine Himalayan mountains, a remote and isolated Buddhist kingdom is host to many rare and endangered plants and animals.
It's expensive and it takes a long time to get to Bhutan, but it's sure worth it. It's one of the most beautiful places that I have found on earth. The mountain scenery, the wildlife, and the culture are all very fascinating. You really see a harmony between humans and nature.
This tiny country's spiritual connection with nature, combined with a tenacious desire to preserve its unique culture, may be an example for the entire global community.
Bhutan has preserved its special qualities because it has a very low population and development has not come to Bhutan until recently. 73% of the country is covered by virgin forest, so it still exists in its traditional condition, and we hope it will for generations to come, but that's going to take a lot of work because Bhutan is modernizing very quickly.
Bhutan managed to preserve its environment and culture over the centuries by essentially shutting out the outside world. For hundreds of years, Bhutan remained relatively undisturbed and undeveloped, a Buddhist kingdom with benevolent rulers where television and the internet were illegal until 1999, and tourism was almost non-existent.
When you are in Bhutan, you immediately realize that it's different. Our king's vision for the country was to maintain our cultural identity. Bhutan has remained a special place because it has been isolated for a long time, and as such, the ills of modernization hadn't come into Bhutan. We would say we were lucky because when we were ready to accept modernization, we were able to learn from the mistakes of many countries.
The Bhutanese have held steadfast to their cultural identity. They continue to make traditional handmade paper out of boiled and separated plant material, an organic and sustainable process. From architecture to attire, everything is unique in Bhutan, including the national sport, archery. While the modern world is encroaching quickly on Bhutan and change is right around the corner, Buddhist religious principles permeate the society and intrinsically foster conservation of the environment and respect for all living things.
Buddhism has helped shape the country, and as we all know, the Buddhist religion is also very, very tolerant towards the environment.
Through the Buddhist principles, they believe in the sacredness of nature, that there should be harmony between man and his environment. There's sort of a fundamental sense of value that things of nature are important to protect.
Bhutan has recently transitioned from monarchy to democracy, and the people here maintain strong reverence for their king and his unique governing policy. not dictated by profits and gross domestic product, but rather by the notion of what is called gross national happiness for all its citizens.
This concept of gross national happiness is actually influenced by Buddhist principles, and the king had a broad outline about how one can achieve happiness.
By this philosophy, there are 4 pillars. Number 1 is environmental conservation. 2 is preservation of culture and tradition. 3, promotion of economic development. And 4 is good governance.
Bhutan is rich in spiritual culture, and Buddhism is woven into the everyday structure of life. Everywhere you look, you see religious symbols. Prayer wheels, prayer flags, and stupas are common sights. Ubiquitous and colorful, these flags have prayers written on them. Buddhists believe that as the flag flaps in the breeze, the prayers are carried out into the winds over and over again. Found in streams all over the country, these water-driven prayer wheels are thought to utter a prayer every rotation. Bhutan is also home to one of the most sacred sites in Tibetan Buddhism, precariously built over the mouth of a cave high on top of a mountain pass.
The Tiger's Nest Monastery is not only the most popular religious site in Bhutan, but perhaps one of the most important religious sites in all of the Himalayan Buddhist region. It's believed that Guru Rinpoche, who brought Buddhism to Bhutan, flew on the back of a flying tigress to subdue a demon. Many famous Buddhist saints had come there to meditate in this spectacular site.
George Archibald, founder of the International Crane Foundation, comes here as often as he can because of its peaceful serenity, and because it is the wintering ground of one of the rarest birds on earth, the black-necked crane.
The black-necked crane is perhaps the most iconic animal in the Bhutanese culture because they come from Tibet. And the Buddhism came from Tibet in the 6th century. The black-necked cranes every November top the Himalayas and come to several valleys in Bhutan where they spend the winter.
One of those wintering habitats is the remote and exotic Pobjika Valley. At almost 10,000 feet in elevation, this tiny green forest of dwarf bamboo is temporary home to less than 400 black-necked cranes. Archibald and the International Crane Foundation have been partnering with Bhutan's Royal Society for the Protection of Nature to make sure that the crane's fragile habitat is not diminished as democracy and Western influence begin to affect development in the country.
A pair of birds is feeding right in front of us. They are digging in the wetland, and they are digging for those little sprouts off the dwarf bamboo.
So people can come to see them. They're a big attraction for tourists.
One of the initiatives designed to help protect these endangered birds is a local crane festival.
Thousands of people walk in from neighboring valleys to the old temple built in the 16th century, and there in the courtyard, they sing, they dance, and they celebrate the existence and arrival of the black-necked cranes.
The Crane Festival is an opportunity for the mostly rural and agrarian people here to celebrate the annual arrival of the cranes. And it's also an occasion to shape local opinion about these exceptional birds.
The idea of starting this crane festival was to provide an opportunity for the local people to demonstrate to them the benefits of conservation.
The black-necked cranes in Phobjikha is a symbol of conservation, and the Crane Festival is one model to show that there is a link between economic development and conservation.
The vast majority of Bhutan's citizens are rural subsistence farmers who still harvest their crops the way it's been done for thousands of years.
The cranes are migrating just as they're planting their crops, and they circle and circle higher and higher in the sky, and the local people believe that the cranes are blessing the crops.
As the country modernizes, hydroelectric power is just now reaching areas as remote as Phobjikha Valley, and Bhutan is forced to wrestle with the new choices of development.
The whole area, the wetland area, is protected as a special conservation area. It cannot be developed. The local people that live around the wetland do not have electricity. The Royal Society for the Protection of Nature raised money to help the local people install solar energy panels.
Here in Phobjikha, there was great concern about how the installation of major power lines and the introduction of bright lights in the evenings would affect the annual migration of the cranes. With financial aid from the Austrian government, plans were made for the power lines to be buried underground, and the Royal Society for the Protection of Nature financed the installation of solar panels throughout the valley. Because of its wide-ranging biomes and geographic range, Bhutan hosts an incredible array of biodiversity. Some extremely rare and exotic animals are only known to live here, like the white-bellied heron.
Here we are standing beside the Puchu River, which is the home of one of the world's rarest birds, the white-bellied heron. This bird used to be found along many of the rivers in India and Nepal, but is only found today in Bhutan and perhaps in Myanmar. We only know of about 20 to 30 birds alive, and 4 of them are right down there.
Rare birds like the white-bellied heron and the black-necked crane require undisturbed habitat, and their presence is a sign that the environment here is in good shape. With democracy and westernization creeping in, Bhutan will have to work hard to hold on to its precious resources, its culture, and pristine environment.
We have come into this democratic process quite late, I would say, and we have learned a lot about what democracies can offer and what doesn't work with democracies. And I think we have the best opportunity to grab the best of democracies and to discard the most negative of democracies.
The challenge is to open up to the outside world without sacrificing culture and this natural balance.
Bhutan is on the threshold of great change. We wish them every success with their fledgling democracy. We have a whole new generation of young people in Bhutan that have lived in cities and that have modern conveniences and that have excellent education. Our future generations of Bhutanese are going to elect to use their natural resources, such as the pristine forests that carpet the mountains, or will they elect to conserve their natural habitats?
One of the challenges for us is getting people to know that environment is important. Still, I think environment will remain the basic foundation for our economy.
Bhutan is really a living example of what is possible.
Change is coming fast to Bhutan. As the modern world knocks at their door, the people here are choosing to keep to their traditions and culture and ensure that future generations will enjoy gross domestic happiness and a pristine environment.